New information for you right now at 6. The mother of 11-year-old Jacqueline Torres Garcia and her boyfriend, Jonatan Nanita, both charged in Jacqueline's murder, are now charged with lying to the state about their SNAP benefits. Let's get right to your chief investigative reporter, Sam Smink. She's joining us tonight with some new details on this case. Sam.
Mark, after Karla Garcia and Jonatan Nanita were arrested for Jacqueline's murder, police informed Department of Social Services investigators. Investigators say a check of their SNAP benefit system found the two were lying to them.
At the time of Karla Garcia's arrest in October 2025, DSS says Garcia had been receiving SNAP benefits for herself, Jacqueline, and 4 other children. But police say, based on interviews and evidence, Jacqueline was likely killed in September 2024. After her death, investigators say Garcia continued to submit SNAP renewal forms on at least 2 occasions, where she failed to say Jacqueline was no longer a part of the household. She also did not report that her boyfriend, Jonatan Nanita, was a part of the household. Investigators say Nanita himself had been receiving SNAP benefits since October 2024, claiming to be homeless. They say he received $2,800 in benefits he was not eligible for, and that Garcia was aware of this. Both Nanita and Garcia signed paperwork with SNAP that said if they were lying, they could face up to 20 years in prison and pay up to $250,000 in fines.
Among their murder charges, Garcia is now charged with conspiracy to commit larceny by defrauding a public community and 2 counts of giving false statements. Nanita is charged with larceny by defrauding a public community and 2 counts of false statements as well. Your chief investigative reporter, Sam Smink, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.